What if everything you believed about love, loyalty, and legacy was a lie? That's exactly what Jim Jones is going through right now after Camron, his former brother-in-arms, revealed a truth about Chrissy that no one saw coming. Eyes widened, mouths dropped, and Jim didn't just react, he exploded. Was it a secret affair, hidden deals, or something even darker than Chrissy's? The courtroom went silent, cameras clicked, whispers spread like wildfire, and then he stood up and revealed a secret so devastating that even the judge looked stunned. Jim never knew what it was because it left the courtroom in disarray and the internet in flames. If you thought the Dipset drama was over, think again, because what happened in that courtroom today has everyone asking, from fans to industry insiders, did Chrissy just ruin Jim's life? The truth is messier than anyone could have imagined. The courtroom was electric, cameras flashed, reporters jostled for position, and the air was thick with anticipation. At the center of it all stood Jim Jones, the rapper from Harlem known for his gritty lyrics and streetwise demeanor. But rather than being on stage or in a music video today, he was in a courtroom dealing with accusations that could permanently damage his reputation. In a move that no one could have predicted, it was Camron, his longtime friend turned rival, who lit the match that ignited the courtroom. The friendship between Jim Jones and Camron was formed in the streets, polished, in the Yow studio, and shattered in front of millions of people. Their history is the stuff of hip-hop legends, including the formation of Dipset, the iconic collaborations, the public fallouts, and now this trial, betrayal, and bombshell that would leave Jim stunned, Chrissy indignant, and the entire culture reeling to figure out what the hell just happened. There were whispers and quiet murmurs that something big was going to happen. A sealed file, an anonymous leak, a subpoena that nobody was expecting. But when Camron entered the courtroom, with his head held high and his voice steady, those whispers turned into gasps, and he didn't even flinch. As the courtroom held its breath, Camron took the stand, and with a calmness that could freeze hell itself, he dropped one line that broke everything. I tried to keep it in the family, but Chrissy had been hiding things from Jim, and it's bigger than anyone knows. The gallery erupted, reporters fumbled for their phones, and Jim Jones appeared to have been struck by a truck. Chrissy, sitting a few rows behind him, turned ghost white because what made jaws drop was that Camron had evidence in the form of emails, voice recordings, and even a purported video clip of Chrissy having a heated conversation with a man identified only as Mr. T, an alleged broker with ties to Caribbean shell firms. This was no longer just reality TV drama. This was court, this was federal, and the allegations, oh, they weren't light, were that Chrissy had been moving large sums of money through dummy corporations linked to offshore accounts, suggesting that Jim may have been involved in a multi-million-dollar money laundering scheme, knowing or not. The sudden house in Turks and Caicos, the mysterious business trips Chrissy took without Jim, the sudden cash purchases, and the insider rumors that Chrissy had something on the side, Jim, for his part, looked blindsided, and his legal team scrambled. His face twitched with a mixture of disbelief, rage, and heartbreak, because this wasn't just a side chick scandal. It was deep, and it wasn't just Camron talking. Then, via video call, an anonymous witness voice pretended to be a former assistant of Chrissy's who claimed to have managed confidential documents, including invoices, wire transfers, and encrypted messages. She told me not to ask questions, saying, "Just scan facts." As the plot thickened, the paparazzi outside went crazy, and on social media, Chrissy Exposed began trending before the court even adjourned. Fans, bloggers, and other rappers joined the fray, and within minutes, 50 Cent posted a meme telling everyone that love and hip-hop isn't just for TV. Meanwhile, legal analysts weighed in on TV panels, with some speculating that the federal government had been looking into Jim for months, but couldn't make the connection until Camron uncovered it. Others questioned whether this was just a personal grudge dressed up for court, but even the most cynical voices couldn't ignore the heat because of what Camron brought to inside. Jim Jones leaned in toward his attorney, whispering quickly, his hands shaking, while Chrissy sat frozen, biting her nails, her phone buzzing nonstop. This wasn't just a case anymore, it was a cultural event. When the prosecution asked for a recess to review the new evidence, the tension in that room was nuclear. Outside, fans shouted, Reporters shoved microphones at anyone wearing Dipset gear, and Camron asked, "Do you think Jim knew?" The courtroom was already suffocating under the weight of scandal, and as Jim Jones sat frozen, still reeling from the audio leak, Camron was not even close to being done with the smirk of someone holding a royal flush. Camron was cool as ever, not even looking at Jim, but the damage was done in just 30 minutes. He had turned the tide of a trial that was supposed to be open and shut into the biggest celebrity legal circus of the year. But what no one realized yet was that this was just the beginning, because what followed would blow the roof off everything. Simple manila folder, but inside screenshots were dozens of messages purportedly exchanged between Chrissy and an unidentified man that hinted at financial manipulation, betrayal, and what some are now calling pre-planned embezzlement. The crowd in the gallery gasped aloud, and then Camron read the text aloud. "Once this is over, I want him out of the house. I've done enough pretending. Tell your guy we'll need the offshore account by Thursday. Jim Z is clueless. He still thinks I'm riding for him." That last one hit like a bullet. Jim Jones's jaw clenched, and you could feel his blood boiling. Across the room, people were whispering, phones were vibrating, and media reporters were stumbling over themselves while trying to update live feeds. One courtroom blogger literally fainted. Security rushed in, and the judge had had enough. This is not a circus, but it was a circus because Chrissy, who had avoided eye contact all day, stood up at that moment, not to defend herself or object, but to leave. Jim Jones turned to her, "So it's true everything." But she didn't respond, just kept king with her head down. And that's when the courtroom went completely crazy with screams, cameras flashing, and security trying to create a barrier. Later that evening, Jim just sat there feeling heavy, as if someone had torn his soul out of him. The Shade Room, Hollywood Unlocked, and other outlets were in complete chaos. Within minutes, Camron exposed Chrissy in court, and the internet went into detective mode. One meme featured Jim Jones in the courtroom with the caption, "When you realize your whole relationship was just a Ponzi scheme with kisses." Another featured Camron photoshopped as the Pope holding up screenshots like holy scrolls. In the end, there were no better clips of Chrissy defending Jim on love and hip-hop. Reshared with sarcastic music and clown emojis, her earlier remarks, such as, "I've always had his back," became viral remixes. However, the fallout was brutal. A luxury champagne brand that had just signed Jim to a $1 million campaign posted a one-line announcement that they were suspending their partnership due to ongoing legal matters. Reality TV producers started cleaning up footage, and rumors circulated that Mona Scott-Young was in emergency crisis talks to figure out how to spin this into a new season or bury it forever. Then came the legal bombshell. A federal probe was allegedly launched into Chrissy's financial dealings, according to insiders that investigators were tipped off by what was revealed in court, specifically those offshore accounts and purported ghost businesses registered in the Caribbean. What's even more shocking is that some sources claim Camron has been working behind the scenes with investigators for months. If that's the case, this wasn't just petty retaliation. Rather, it was a well-planned public takedown that used a courtroom for humiliation as well as justice. The rumors didn't end there. An anonymous source who claimed to be from Jim's inner circle told a gossip website, "He's not just heartbroken, he's destroyed." He thought he was going to walk into court and defend his name, but instead he walked into a funeral, his own. Then came the biggest twist yet. Camron set up an exclusive down interview with a major news outlet. In the teaser clip, which was posted on social media, the host asks, "Why did you really do it? Was this about justice or just revenge?" Camron calmly responds, "Both." The video ends with a smirk and a fade to black, and everyone instantly wanted to know what would happen next. Would Chrissy be charged? Would Jim Jones retaliate? Would Dipset ever get over this? Love and Hip Hop was about to air its most realistic season ever, and speculations were running wild. Some thought this was a setup from the beginning that Camron had been planning since that notorious dipshit versus the Verse battle, where Jim's ego allegedly caused backstage drama. Others believed this was personal retaliation for years of betrayal, jealousy, or perhaps even a love triangle that the public was unaware of. And still others claimed that this was all performance art, and that the courtroom drama and betrayal, even the screenshots, were part of a larger rollout. One TikTok user claimed that this was the best promo DePet had ever done for the album. But regardless of your beliefs, one thing was certain. The world had never seen Jim Jones this vulnerable, shattered publicly, and blindsided by not just a friend, but by, at the heart of it all, was Camron drinking tea and letting the world burn around him. By the time Camron's entire interview was released, the internet was in a meltdown, with people watching as if it were the Super Bowl of betrayal. Cam knew exactly what he was doing, wearing a velvet blazer, a gold chain, and sunglasses indoors like he was at a roast. He leaned into the camera and said, "I warned him years ago and told him love makes you blind, but Chrissy, she turned him deaf, dumb, and delusional." The interviewer asked him directly, "So you're saying Chrissy's been using Jim?" Jim Jones remained silent for 3 days straight. No Instagram story, no subtweet, no leaked diss track, until the man finally broke late one night. He posted a black and white photo of himself looking out a rain-streaked window on Instagram with the caption, "Trust no one, not even her." Supporters flooded his comments with heartbreaking sentiments. This entire time, the bank statements did boom. Emojis and prayers, but haters, oh, they went right for the jugular, bro. Even verified celebrities were chiming in. One R&B singer commented, "That's why I keep my business and my women off TV." But the pain didn't stop at heartbreak. It was financial, too. It turned out that the businesses Jim Jones and Chrissy had jointly invested in were now under scrutiny. One of their real estate ventures, allegedly a gentrification project in Jersey, was abruptly shut down pending federal review. Employees were laid off, contracts were frozen, accounts were seized. Insiders claimed that over $2.3 million was missing from one of their shared LLCs, and then there was the alleged wire fraud and whistleblower. An anonymous former assistant who worked in their home office came forward and leaked internal emails that suggested Chrissy had been sending money to a private cryptocurrency wallet abroad. She even included a spreadsheet labeled, "Jim doesn't need to know." That's when the feds stopped playing, a subpoena was issued, and the next thing you know, Chrissy was given a travel restriction order and had her passport confiscated. Despite the fact that the walls were closing in, she remained composed when the paparazzi caught her outside her lawyer's office. When asked if she had anything to say to Jim, she paused, smiled faintly, and said, "He'll thank me." Afterward, "I apologize, but I want to thank her." Later, the blogs were exploding, with one headline screaming, "Chrissy says Jim should be grateful." Another shared a side-by-side photo of her and Anna Delvey, referring to Chrissy as the new queen of romance-based racketeering. Meanwhile, Dipset's legacy was eroding. Previous crew members were rekindling old feuds, and an ex-affiliate asserted that Jim had been warned about Chrissy years prior, but he disregarded everyone because she made good spaghetti. Speaking of cooking, Mona Scott was preparing a brand new special called Love and Hip Hop: The Reckoning, according to sources. Fast-tracked a reunion-style spin-off where cast members face their biggest betrayals, starting with Jim and Chrissy. But this is where it gets even more bizarre. Remember the mystery man Chrissy was allegedly texting? Well, according to leaked court documents, the man is allegedly a foreign investor connected to a luxury real estate scam in Miami. He was also reportedly once involved with another reality TV star. This wasn't just a casual affair. It was a lengthy scam involving a complex web of phony investments, insider trading, and possibly even identity fraud. Chrissy wasn't just in love. She was allegedly involved in the operation, and the betrayal wasn't just emotional. It was global. His lawyers filed an emergency motion to separate all joint financial holdings, arguing that Jim was unaware and uninvolved in any of Chrissy's alleged schemes. However, the damage was already done, and fans began to ask the hard questions. Was Jim truly clueless? Could someone so close to the money not know what was going on? Or was he just playing dumb now to avoid the heat? Camron even shared a cryptic tweet that read, "Ignorance is bliss till the IRS shows up." Then came the unexpected turn of events. Chrissy, once the silent storm, filed a motion of her own in which she accused Jim of financial neglect, claiming that he was the one who initially transferred money behind her back, causing her to take control of their finances. She portrayed herself as the mastermind who prevented the collapse of their empire rather than the one who destroyed it, and her lawyer even called her a businesswoman rather than a criminal. The country's gossip podcasts let out a collective, gasp when they realized that the story wasn't so clear-cut. Was Chrissy a villain, a victim, or something more dangerous? A player who knew exactly when to flip the script? The public couldn't keep up, as Reddit was flooded with breakdowns, timelines, conspiracy theories, and one user wrote a 17-page essay titled Chrissy's Long Game, a psychological profile. Others were already pitching Netflix documentaries, such as Trust Fund Trap, The Chrissy Lampin Files, From Love and Hip Hop to Lock and Key to The Real Housewives of Federal Court. And just when you thought it couldn't get any wilder, Camron released a freestyle, yes, a whole diss track filled with legal shade, courtroom bars, and one jaw-dropping line. You gave her your last name, and she gave you her last scam, mic drop hip hop. The verse became a challenge, and even younger, rappers began to join in with their own remixes, turning the Jim Chrissy story into a full-on diss fest.